From Caterpillars to Butterflies, episode 39, 5 Ways to Rebrand Yourself.
Welcome to the From Caterpillars to Butterflies Personal Growth Podcast. Just like the caterpillar is destined to become a butterfly, you too are designed for a beautiful transformation. This is where you go to grow and transform your life. And now, here's your host, Certified Life Coach, Charlene Dior.
Hey, this is Charlene, your host of the From Caterpillars to Butterflies Personal Growth Podcast, where we talk about all things personal growth. If it can help you grow, we will likely be covering it right here on the show. And today we're going to be talking about branding yourself, how to rebrand yourself. So at this point in your life, you have some type of reputation or brand. Professionally, personally, in your spiritual walk, like there are some things that people have come to know about you and to know to be true of you and to know to be representative of you, your brand. And it might be that that's not the right brand for you anymore. And so I'm going through the process of rebranding my website, and I thought it's equally important to brand yourself. Whether you have a website or not, it's important to kind of know what your brand is, because your brand, you have a brand whether you like it or not, right? And so we talk about creating brands or building brands, but there's already a brand that exists. It's just a matter of, are you doing it purposefully and intentionally? Your personal brand conveys your message of who you are, of what you believe in, of what your values are. It can give you credibility, right? Like if you think about one aspect of someone's brand, which could be their style of dress, right? And so someone who has a certain style of dress might present a brand that is more credible maybe than someone who doesn't have that same style of dress, right? So it says it has the ability to lend you credibility, and it says something about you and who you are. Your brand can also help you connect with other people. So your personal brand helps you connect with people, and your business brand also helps you connect with consumers. It establishes what people can and should expect from you. And again, this is why this is so important, because if people have come to expect something out of you that isn't really positive, then it might be time for you to rebrand yourself, right? If people come to expect that you don't know how to control your temper, so a part of your brand is someone who loses their cool all the time, and people believe that to be true about you. And so they might treat you differently. They might only give you certain information. They might walk on eggshells around you. And you might come to a point where you're like, man, this is really hindering my growth. It's hindering my career, or it's hindering my marriage. And so you want to rebrand that perception of you. You want people to come to expect more positive, fruitful, empowering things from you, and not the I lose my cool all the time. You don't want people to expect you to have a breakdown every day, right? So in me redoing my business brand, my brand has always just been like, amateurish. I created my quote unquote logo in PowerPoint, and so it was just like a pet project, building a blog. I knew I was going to be like doing this for years. And so it was like, it's not like I'm going to have 1 million people looking at me tomorrow. So it was just like, I'm just going to put this brand together in PowerPoint. But I always knew that I was going to want to have a more professional brand. And so this was just kind of the next evolution of From Caterpillars to Butterflies. Okay, so you've blogged for several years, you have your podcast, you've done this, you've done that. Now it's time to grow up your blog, right? Grow up your brand, because you've been, a little baby brand for a long time. And my color has always been green from the very beginning, which I like, because green represents growth. And that's really what the podcast and the blog is all about. It's just about you being able to grow into the person that you need to be to live the life that you want to live. And so green is very representative of that. And green is also representative of money. And it's representative of growing your money. growth and money, put them together and you start growing your money. So green has always been my color, but I don't know what I was doing. I was doing something and I came across the meaning of turquoise and I was really taken aback by it. And so as I'm thinking about rebranding, I've incorporated other colors because of what they mean, because of what they symbolize. So one definition of turquoise said that it is believed to enhance communication. It's one of the oldest protection stones known to bring strength and connection to the spiritual world. Another said that this color represents open communication from and between the heart and the spoken word. And turquoise encourages inner healing, which is the one that was like, it encourages inner healing through its ability to enhance empathy and caring. It heightens our intuitive ability and opens the door to spiritual growth. It is the color of the evolved soul. I love what that color stands for because it's a lot of what I stand for. You know, I'm a spiritual person. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And so I'm a big believer of this world that we have here. This life that we have is not the end all be all. So I just love what turquoise represents. And it's really kind of the best blend of personal growth, growing your humanness, right? So that you can enjoy the life that you have here, but then also growing your spiritual self. And that's like the best combination. When you're personally mature and you're spiritually mature, then I think the world just opens up to you in new ways. And so I brought on a color because it represented how I feel. It represented what my beliefs are. It represented who I want to be and how I want to show up and what I want to share and teach to people. So when you're thinking about your own personal brand or your business brand, then you can think about, what do you believe and how do you want to show up and what best represents those beliefs and who you are. It could be how you dress. How you dress says something about your brand. And if you wanted to change your brand, one of the things that you could change first is your style of dress. It could be that you dress more professional, or it could be that you dress more trendy. Maybe your brand is that you're trendy. Maybe your brand is that you are conservative, right? And so when you want to switch up your personal brand, one of the things that you can do is go to your wardrobe and decide, what does my current brand say about me? Beyond just your clothes, but just in general, what does your current brand say about you? And what do you want it to say about you? So what do people currently get from you? What do they think? What do they feel when they are around you or when they think about you? And how would you prefer that to be? So once you understand what your current personal brand is, and maybe you have to go and just ask some people, and you understand where it is and how do you feel about that? Do you feel good about that, or does that not make you feel so good? Or do you feel that your personal brand might be holding you back in your career or in your relationships? So you've identified what the current brand is, what your brand currently says about who you are, what it makes people think about you, what it makes people feel about you, and you decided that there are some parts of it that you want to tweak. Then you understand, what is it that you would prefer your brand to say about you? How would you prefer people to see you and to think of you and to feel about you? And when you've got that gap, then you can go and say, okay, what do I need to rebrand? What do I need to do differently to get people to see me, think of me, feel about me in this more positive way? So again, that could be your clothes, right? People might think certain things about you from how you dress. And when you want to rebrand yourself, you can start there. You can also rebrand your attitude. So I know this is like one of the areas that I struggle in the most, because I don't like to sweep things under the rug. And a lot of people do. A lot of people like to pretend nothing happened, and I don't do well. So I kind of wear those feelings on my sleeves, and then I got an attitude problem, okay? Then I got an attitude. I know one of my jobs I had just started like 6 months prior. And then there's this big reorg and they're closing offices down. And so I was one of two people from the team who stayed with the company. Everyone else left. And so we have this whole brand new team. We have new directors and managers and everything. And somehow, somewhere, it was decided that my role, I was the online campaign manager. So my job was to manage the online campaigns. And so it was decided that I should be the SEO specialist. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I mean, I'm brand new. I just joined here 6 months ago. If I wanted to have an SEO job, I would have applied for one. Like, I just got out of a job search, you know? And so I had the worst attitude. I didn't like being there. I was so disappointed in the whole situation. And so when everyone else is like all golly jolly, they love this team, they love the environment. I don't. I don't. I feel I was cheated, and they should have left me at my current company or my previous company. And so I really wore that on my sleeves. If I wanted to rebrand myself, then I could just adjust my feelings, my attitude, or at least pretend like I wasn't bothered by the situation. And so one of the ways that you can pretend is just to ask yourself, how would I behave if I felt a different way? Because sometimes we feel a certain way, maybe we're well within our rights, but that attitude affects our brand, and it also just makes the situation worse, right? And so you might be very, very legit in your feelings. It may be very understandable, but if it's impacting your brand, then you can rebrand yourself by adjusting your attitude, and that could just be pretending like it was the best career move ever for you, right? So adjust your attitude. You can also improve your brand by adjusting your behavior, right? So you might have a reputation in relationships of not being a good partner. People think that you are disengaged, that you're a selfish partner, you only think about yourself. You could be in a relationship or a marriage right now, and those are some of the things that your spouse says about you, that you just don't care about her or him. So if you wanted to save the marriage and improve the relationship, you could rebrand yourself in that manner by behaving differently. Make your spouse believe different things about you. Help your spouse to expect more positive things about you. Don't let them keep expecting you to come home at 2 a.m. without calling because you were hanging out with your friends. Shift your behavior so that the perception that people have of you will change. Same thing in a professional context. If you always come to work late or you are always late on your deadlines, people have come to expect certain things about you, that you're late all the time, that you don't care about your work, or that you don't care about your job. And because they feel that way about you, then you might not have as many opportunities to be a part of things, to learn new things, to get promoted, to move around. And that brand is perpetually hurting you and hurting your career. So you can change the brand by behaving differently, doing your stuff on time, right? Showing up to work on time. So rebrand yourself by changing your behaviors. You can rebrand yourself by learning something new. Sometimes we get pigeonholed into certain careers, like you're really good at something and people have come to know that you're really good about that, but you might just be really bored with that. You're really bored with that, but it's your bread and butter. It's how you make your money because people have branded you as that person. I was branded as a top-notch marketing analyst for years, but I was craving new knowledge, new experiences, new whatevers, right? But because I was pigeonholed into an analyst, it was very hard to break out of that. Like one of the ways that you can break out of it is just to learn something new. That might mean going back to school. You can rebrand yourself by getting a new degree. People don't always want to do that, but it's so common. I know someone who was a teacher and now they're a nurse. So obviously they've rebranded themselves by getting different education, getting a different skill set. So you can rebrand yourself by doing that as well, or just expressing interest in something else. And so I was able to switch into customer experience because my manager let me do that because I wanted to. So it might even just be communicating how you'd rather be utilized. And people, if they respect you and they want to see you be happy and grow, can help you get the new knowledge to rebrand yourself. Lastly, you can rebrand yourself by forging new relationships. It's been said before, right? Birds of a feather flock together, or you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around the most. Who you hang out with impacts your personal brand. Who you hang out with at work impacts your personal brand. Who you hang out in your personal life impacts your personal brand. So when you want to have a new brand, you want people to see you a different way. One of the ways that you can do that is forging new relationships with people who match the brand that you want to become. So just to recap, there are 5 ways that I've spoken about that you can rebrand yourself. You can rebrand yourself by switching up your wardrobe, rebranding your physical appearance, or even getting a haircut or doing something different with your physical appearance. You can rebrand yourself by adjusting your attitude, even when you don't want to, but you know that it is hindering you in some capacity. Rebrand your attitude. Rebrand your behavior. Change up your behavior. Learn something new. And number 5 was develop new relationships. You're going to find yourself in situations where you're going to have to rebrand some things. Anytime life isn't working or something in your life isn't working, it's probably a cue that you've got to do some rebranding on your end. If you've had a major mishap in your career or in your relationship, then it might be incumbent upon you to rebrand yourself so that you can overcome that. If you want to make a career change, obviously you have to rebrand yourself. If you want to go from being a worker bee to being a leader, you might have to rebrand yourself. If you don't feel good about yourself and how you've been representing yourself and how you've been showing up in the world, then it might be time for you to rebrand yourself. And anytime you're reaching for something and you just can't grab it, it could be because your brand doesn't support it. So you might have to rebrand yourself there, right? You've been trying to get that promotion and you just can't get it. It could be that you have to rebrand yourself as a leader before you are a leader. Always strive to be mindful of what your personal brand is or what your business brand is. Be mindful of what you convey about yourself and how people think and feel about you, and whether that's in alignment with who you are and where you're trying to go, or whether it's taking you off track. And when you find yourself not in alignment, your brand doesn't really represent positive things, it doesn't represent where you're trying to go, then be mindful enough, be courageous enough to do the work to rebrand yourself. And it won't necessarily happen overnight. It's not like, I could rebrand my website overnight. But when you're trying to rebrand yourself, it takes you being consistent in the new behavior, in harnessing the new learnings, in hanging out with the new people, being consistent over time, that people might start to see you differently and think about you differently. So you have to be patient sometimes when you're trying to rebrand yourself. And you don't have to do it overnight. You can't do it overnight, but you don't have to go try to change up your wardrobe and change up your learnings and get new friends overnight or in a week, right? Like my brand, it is what I'm rebranding. It is rolling out, is what I'm trying to say, rolling out over time, because all the pieces aren't ready right now, but some pieces are, and I'm excited to get them out. So it's okay if you introduce new elements to your brand over time. You don't have to go out and redo everything about you right now. So be patient with yourself, be patient with the process. But if you have you have to have a good idea of where you're going. where you want your brand to be, how you want to represent yourself, and every day just move in that direction. And eventually people are going to start to see you how you want them to see you. Socrates said that the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So focus all of your energy on rebranding you, on building the new, not on the old. I'm super excited to see where my own rebrand goes professionally. And I'm also, when you rebrand your business, you kind of have to rebrand yourself too, which is something I think people don't always think about. But you're up-leveling your website. You got to up-level yourself too. So now I have to think about who I want Charlene to be and how I want people to see Charlene and how I want them to feel about Charlene and think about Charlene and do the work to make sure that that's the image that I'm conveying. So I have to now get started on rebranding my personal brand. In summary, your brand is really a promise. It's a promise to your customers. If you're dealing with a business brand, it's a promise to your coworkers. It's a promise to your boss. It's a promise to your family. Your brand is your promise. And so you're either going to promise good, positive, empowering things to people, or you're going to make promises of being negative, being a jerk, being selfish, right? Either way it goes, you're making certain promises to people all day long throughout your life through your brand without even having to open your mouth. You're communicating a promise. You're communicating a feeling. So it's important that it's the right promise. It's important that your brand conveys the right promise. And if it doesn't, then it's time to rebrand. And I gave you some ways that you could do that. So happy rebranding. Until next time, grow on purpose.
Thanks for listening to the From Caterpillars to Butterflies podcast, your one-stop shop for all things personal growth. For today's show notes and even more tools and resources to help you transform the life you have into the life you love, go to www.fromcaterpillarstobutterflies.com.